What is up? PLC 1, we are at week 14. It's almost over, which is awesome. Hope everybody's staying safe out there in Corona land. So for this week, I was the discussion director. And after reading the text, these are the questions that I have come up with. So on page 280, Old Smokey mentions a teacher who shares their strategy for fake reading, the way the students would kind of act like they were reading, but not really. And one of the things that came to mind when I read this was, if you know students have these techniques and you kind of rob that from them, would that increase their anxiety around reading assignments? And if so, what could you do to lessen the anxiety that you yourself may have caused? Next, on page 284, there's a paragraph on self-monitoring. How can we advocating for students doing some self-monitoring, and how can we prevent them from abdicating the responsibility of learning back onto the teacher, as often happens? So what do y'all think? What's the best way to stop that kind of abdication of responsibility? And they also mentioned in that paragraph a stop and think method, where you have them read and then do a stop and think about what they just read, which I actually thought would make a really good exit ticket, where, you know, write down 3 things that you stopped and thought about as you were going through. I don't know. What do you think? Good exit ticket? Not a good exit ticket? I don't know. And then kind of towards the end of the chapter, they talked about material students can successfully read. My thought there, because this has come up often, is, yeah, you want to give them something that they can read, but you also want to challenge them to make them step their game up a little bit. And how do you find that balance between something that they can successfully get through, yet also challenges them enough that kind of sharpens the sword of their reading ability? And then on page 287, the paragraph on provide materials in various forms is what that little section was talking about. But then when you read through it, Smokey never really gives you any example of alternatives that you might use for a struggling reader. So the next discussion question I would offer is, what are some alternative materials that you might give a struggling reader? Smaller bites, probably. All right, those are my questions for this week. Everybody have a good weekend.